Guys. I am in my office. I'm kind of loving this new design I've got here. We're in a new house, so I have a new office set up. And it feels really nice to be in an environment that you love. You can like look around. I have a tree that's right beside me right here and a cool bookshelf over there. So I am happy. I'm here today to talk to you guys about a question that was asked when I asked for people for topics for this Facebook Live, which was how to navigate parties when you don't know what's going to be served. Then I'm also going to talk about how to optimize your environment so that it can make it a lot easier for you to actually hit your goals. So let me start by talking about some situations that might be out of your control that make sticking to a nutrition plan, whether you track your macros or whether you're doing anything at all, it makes it a little bit harder. I mean, a lot of it harder. The hardest part of sticking to any nutrition plan is going to be those scenarios that are more difficult. And that's going to be restaurants, parties, holidays, work events, when you're traveling to a new country, maybe it's a wedding, a birthday party, all of those scenarios that don't necessarily happen every day, but they are happening often. So life is always happening. There's always going to be someone's birthday. There's always going to be a work event. It's always going to be a trip that's coming up, hopefully. So we have to learn how to navigate these scenarios regardless of what state you're in. You're not always going to be in a routine. So the best way to manage your nutrition is to build some strategies and some habits that come really naturally to you, even when life is happening. So the original question was how to navigate parties when you don't know what's going to be served. I'm going to talk about that specifically, and it can relate to all of those other difficult scenarios. Not necessarily restaurants per se, but I think we have a couple Facebook Lives about restaurants, and we definitely have a number of blog posts on the Working Against Gravity website that talk about that. So I would definitely look for that kind of thing there. But I'll talk about parties exactly right now. So first tip would be to bring your own dish. I mean, who doesn't love a party guest that brings some food? So if you bring your own dish that you know exactly what's in it and you know exactly how much you can have, then it, one, makes you look like a gracious guest, which is always nice. Two, relieve some of the anxiety of eating things that you don't know what's in them. And also gives you an opportunity to avoid some of the things that are there because you're hungry and you want to participate. Another tip would be don't go to the party hungry. So anyone who's been in a situation that you're hungry, you're gonna wanna just get food in quickly and conveniently. So if you go to a party and you're already hungry, you haven't eaten, you're gonna be finding a way to make yourself full because that feeling of hunger is so uncomfortable. So make sure that you've already eaten and you're at least somewhat full before you get to the party so that you don't overeat. If you're hungry when you're there, you might eat things that are much more dense in calories because we naturally, like biologically, when you're hungry, your body's going to search for things that are higher in calories to make sure that it gets replenished. Third thing is to always have a drink in your hand. So having a drink in your hand, maybe it's a soda, maybe it's water, maybe it's seltzer water, whatever it is, it's going to help. I don't know, I'm sure I'm not alone. I mean, I'm sure anything I go through means that I'm not the only one going through it in the world, I hope. It gives me peace of mind to know that I'm human. But when I'm at a party, I have a lot of social anxiety. So having a drink in my hand, for me, social anxiety comes with like making sure my mouth is doing something. So if I'm chewing on something, it gives me an excuse to not have to talk. Or if I'm taking sips of a drink, it also gives me an excuse not to have to talk or not to have to do something else with my hands. So having a drink in your hand can reduce the anxiety or the social anxiety that you feel when you're at a party, and it gives your mouth something to do. It gives your hands something to hold on to. You don't have that awkward, just standing around not really doing anything. So always having a drink in your hand is a really good tip. Doesn't have to have alcohol in it. Some people laugh at me. I don't know if anyone here is listening is in college or university, but when I was in university, I used to you'd go to the pregame before you go to the party, and I would bring a water bottle that was filled with water, and normally people bring like vodka in their water bottles, and I would just pretend like it was vodka, so I could still participate in the games. I could still create mixed drinks, and people would think it was alcohol. And if anybody wanted to have some of mine, I would say that I didn't share. And if anyone offered me a shot, I would just say, you know what, I've had so many, another one's going to make me sick. So I've already decided how much I'm going to have. So little tricks like that, although, maybe not the most honest way of going about it, but it can at least make sure you don't offend somebody else or make them feel uncomfortable, as well as just stick to your own goals. Another thing that I love to do is I make a hard and fast rule about going to a party when it comes to food and alcohol before I get there. So already making that decision makes it so much easier to stick to your plan. So you don't have to weigh out the options when you're in the moment. You've already decided. So this can be, I've already decided how many drinks I'm going to have, alcoholic beverages. I've already decided what kind of alcoholic beverages I'm going to have. And nobody's going to say no if there's alcohol at a party of you bringing alcohol to the party. So you can bring your own. And then I've already decided if I'm going to have a treat, how many I'm going to have, like one serving. I've made a hard and fast rule about it. So that decision's already been made. So I'm not sitting there being like, should I have a second one, or how many should I have? Because I've already decided before I got there. Another really great tip when going to a party is to fill up on the salad and the vegetables first. So if the first thing that you go to is the veggies and the salad, you're already going to be a little bit full, and it's going to make it less likely for you to indulge in things that might not be as pushing you forward towards your goals. Now, the other thing is to optimize your surroundings. And this is where we just wrote a chapter on this in our Level 2 Coaches Manual, and I'm so excited about it, but you guys don't necessarily get to see that. We will put it out there once it's already finished, but it talks about optimizing your surroundings. And you can really do this at a party really well to make you not have to use your willpower so much, because that's going to run out. And, sometimes people like me, I have to make like 1,000 decisions in a day. When I go to a party, I just want to have a good time, and I don't want to have to keep making decisions. Sometimes it's so nice to just have decisions made for you, or you just end up going for the convenient thing because it's comfortable. So things like don't face the food. So if you're sitting at a party and you're sitting in an area where all the food is, if it's in your eyesight, you're going to be thinking about it. You're going to be like, oh, I wish I could have that bread over there, or I wish I could have a piece of that cake, or I just want to have a couple chips. But if you're not facing the food at all and you don't see it, you're immediately less likely to be thinking about it, fantasizing about it, and then eventually just giving up and going to have some. So don't face the food. Don't let it be around you. Don't be near the food, and if you're sitting somewhere, just move the food out of the way or sit in a different area if it's possible. That's really going to help you optimize your environment. And on that note, so we do already have a 7-day environmental overhaul. If you go to the Working Against Gravity website, you click on Guides and you click 7-day environmental overhaul. It helps you change up your environment, walks you through, I think it's 7 days worth of emails that go right to your inbox to help you do some strategies to optimize your environment, and we're going to be updating that soon. And I wanted to go over some things that are really specific to areas in your house. So these are huge. Honestly, when I was reading them, they come from the book Slim by Design, and I did read the book, but these just got one of our coaches summarized the book. Her name's Katie, Coach Katie. Not Kate Hart, Coach Katie Holmes, if she's your coach, but she did summarize the book, and the way that she put it really hit home for me. So I hope that this is going to be some knowledge bombs for you guys too. So one thing is she goes by different areas of the house. So let's talk about the kitchen to start. So how to optimize your kitchen so that it's easier for you to stay on track. So one is make your kitchen less loungeable, so that you don't hang out there so much. Kind of like the out of sight, out of mind. The longer that you lounge or hang out in your kitchen, the more often you're going to be thinking about food. I can definitely relate to that. If I'm sitting and hanging out at the kitchen table, I'm thinking about, it's naturally for me to want to be eating at the same time because that's where I eat. So I'm going to start thinking about what's in the fridge, what's in the cupboard, what can I be eating right now? So making it so that your kitchen is as not loungeable, it's just for you to eat, and then you go to a different room to lounge is definitely going to be optimal. The other thing would be to not have a TV in the kitchen. So having a TV in the kitchen makes it easier to mindlessly eat your food. It also makes it significantly more loungeable. You can just sit, watch a television show, makes it more likely for you to keep eating. If you could have your walls in your kitchen a more neutral tone, in Slim by Design, they talk about how that makes it less likely for you to overeat. So that's avoiding really, really bright or saturated colors can really help with that a lot. And the other thing in your kitchen would be tempting foods, make them invisible. So one stat. So you're 3 times more likely to eat the first food that you see in your cupboard. So if you make the tempting foods, the foods that are tempting to you, so maybe you have kids and you can't completely remove the tempting foods out of your environment. So if you open up the cupboard, the first foods that you see are going to be the foods that you're more likely to eat. So you're 3 times more likely to eat those foods. So immediate thing that you can do to help you reach your goals even more is open up your cupboard, make sure that those first foods that you see are going to be the healthiest foods that are in your cupboard, or the foods that you know are going to work for your goals. Another really amazing tip is in your refrigerator, most of us put the veggies and the fruit in the crisper, right? That drawer that makes them last a little bit longer, but that's putting them out of sight, out of mind. So in Slim by Design, they talk about how taking the vegetables and the fruit out of the crisper and putting them on the shelf so that you can visibly see them not only makes you 19% more likely to actually eat them, you eat 19% more fruits and vegetables, but you don't need to have them last longer because you're actually eating them, so they don't often go bad as quickly. So taking your processed and refined foods and putting them inside the crisper and inside the drawer so you can't see them, out of sight. Take all those tempting foods in your fridge, put them in the drawer, take all the healthy foods, the vegetables, the fruit, everything, put them visibly so that you can see them. I have a couple little baskets and boxes to keep them a little bit more organized so that they can go and maybe in some Tupperwares, with some clear Tupperwares so that you can see through them and you know what's in there. That will really help that you eat more fruits and vegetables. Kids cupboards. So if you have kids, I know this is a lot more difficult. So your kids love Pop-Tarts. They want things that go in the toaster. They want things that can be made in the microwave. Definitely more packaged foods. Make yourself a kids cupboard in your kitchen that is totally off limits to you. So you only go into the kids cupboard or the kids section of the cupboard. It's more inaccessible, it's more difficult to get to, so you have to make a couple decisions before you go all the way to the kids cupboard to get something from there. So you know it's just for the kids, it's all in one spot, and then you have to decide, okay, I'm going to go all the way to the kids section and I'm going to take something that I know doesn't work for my goals. So it just makes things a little bit more inconvenient for you to eat those tempting treats. If you can't put it in a completely separate room or in a completely separate cupboard, then just put them in the low ends of the cupboard or the really high ends of the cupboard, so off to the side, so it's a little bit more difficult. I know that a lot of people love to buy items in bulk. So you're going to Costco, you buy bulk items. I mean, saves you a lot of money, saves you a lot of time as well, but it also makes it more tempting for you to eat more. So a couple things you can do with things that you buy in bulk from somewhere like Costco or Sam's Club. So immediately when you bring them home, repackage them into single serving sizes. So it's more likely that you're going to eat less if they're already in single serving packages. Or have as many as you need for the week or for the next couple of days and take the rest of the bulk items and put them, a lot of people have a laundry room where you have some storage that you can put that type of bulk items over there. You can put it in the basement, in a cold cellar, in a storage room, somewhere completely different outside of the kitchen. So you have to actually leave the kitchen to go and get those extra bulk items. Makes it a lot less likely for you. It makes it a little bit more inconvenient. You have to really decide that you're going to go and get those tempting foods before you get them. Another huge tip that I didn't really think about was to make it easier for you to cook. So we all talk about meal prep. We talk about, it's really hard to cook our own food, or it takes a lot of time. But what if it was really appealing to cook your own food? So what they talk about in Slim by Design is make your cooking and your preparation environments really bright, really inviting, really pretty, whatever pretty is to you, really a great place to hang out in, and it makes it more likely for you to want to be there and cooking your food. So brightening up the space, making sure it's clean, getting rid of any clutter on the shelves, and also positioning your fridge so that it's closest to the section where you're going to be preparing your food to cook. So the farther you have to walk away from the fridge to get to the preparation center, or like wherever it is that you're prepping your food, makes it more likely that you're not going to think it's convenient to cook your food. So making it easier to cook, making things more convenient, that's going to help you stay on track as well. The last thing about your kitchen is that nothing visible on the counters is easy to snack on. So that means having fruit bowls with, 2 or 3 different fruits, having things like unroasted, unsalted almonds, which is a lot harder to overindulge on, but not having cereal boxes out, not having cookies out, candies, crackers, things that are super easy to snack on out on the counter. It's going to make it less likely for you to actually overindulge on that kind of thing. The next group of tips is going to be for your dining room. So this was cool. For those of you that eat in a family and need tips for how to manage eating with multiple people, one thing is a lot of people serve their meals family style. So you'll have like all of the rice or all of the meat or all of the vegetables, and then everyone just kind of like buffet styles their own food. It's shown that you're going to eat 19% less food if you pre-serve the meals instead of eating it family style. So if you pre-put the meals onto the plate and not have to go and serve it family style, then you're going to eat 19% less food because you don't have the opportunity to go back for seconds, or in the moment you're not going to like put a ton on your plate when you're going to eat it buffet style. I thought that was super interesting and useful. And then another thing is to serve, if you're going to be serving it family style, to serve out of bowls with lids. So, kind of like when you go to like a business conference and you have to lift the lid to go and get the food, making it even just that much more inconvenient is going to make it easier for you to not make the final choice to actually go ahead and eat those really tempting food options. Pantry, your pantry. That's the pantry where you probably have most of your packaged goods, most of your processed goods, any refined sugars, other than the freezer, of course. And it's best if this is not located in the kitchen. That's what they talk about, but I don't think that's an option for most people. So what you can do is, like I talked about, you're most likely to eat the foods that are the first thing that you see when you go to the pantry. So what you can do is make it so that the healthiest foods are front and center. Makes it much more appealing, and that's the first thing that's going to pop into your mind. So that's how to optimize your kitchen, your dining room, your pantry. If you want more tips on how to optimize your environment, like how to pick restaurants closest to the places you frequent most and pick meals over there, there is the 7-day environmental overhaul. It's completely free on the Working Against Gravity website under guides. It should be 7-day environmental overhaul guides on the drop-down menu. And if you guys have any questions, definitely post them in the comments and I will be able to answer those for you. Of course, tag me or I'll look up this video afterwards and see if there's any comments from you guys. And use these strategies to change up your kitchen, change up your dining room, change up the way that your house and your physical environment is, because the biggest quote from Slim by Design is, it's easier to change your environment than it is to change your mind. And once you start actually implementing these things and taking action, I think you might surprise yourself on how big of an impact it actually does. What you look at every day, the environment that you hang out in every day. And I've found that it's super useful in my life and to all the people that I've recommended it to. I think I have a couple comments. Yeah, the TV is definitely crazy in the kitchen. And there's so many, Danielle Kepix, there's so many things you don't even keep in the house. You have to go and buy something. So that's actually like a really great, if you just don't keep if foods for you are just so tempting, it's like trigger to even have it in the house. I know some people with kids that's really difficult, but don't even have it in the house and you have to make the decision to get in the car, go to the store and actually go and get it, which at that point it's more worth it for you to have it. And we can work through strategies on how to make sure that you feel full and talk to your coach about that. And they can definitely help you work through any of those kinds of scenarios. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I would be happy to help you guys work through your specific scenario. So all of this was kind of hypothetical, a lot more of an overview of how you can change your kitchen. And let me know. So I will talk to you guys probably in 2 weeks, and next Friday is going to be one of your coaches And if Katie's your coach, give her a shout out, because this is a ton of solid information that we're going to be able to bring to you guys about how to adapt your environment to suit your goals. Bye, guys.